Once upon a time, deep in the heart of Africa, in a small village nestled among vast savannas and ancient trees, there lived a young boy named Abioye. This village, rich with the whispers of old legends and the songs of the wind through the tall grasses, was a place where life flowed with the rhythms of nature. Abioye's life, however, was anything but serene, shaped as it was by his mother Bimbo's unending battle with a mysterious and incurable illness. Bimbo, a woman of grace and strength, had been fighting this illness since the day Abioye was born. Despite her tireless efforts and countless visits to the village's most skilled healers, no cure could be found. The illness was a relentless shadow, bringing with it nights filled with pain and days marked by exhaustion. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about Bimbo's bravery, but her suffering was a heavy burden that she bore with quiet dignity. Abioye watched his mother struggle with wide, fearful eyes. Even as a child, he understood the depth of her pain. The nights were the hardest, when Bimbo's soft cries filled their small hut, mingling with the sounds of the night. Abioye would sit by her side, holding her hand, his small heart aching with a helplessness he couldn't fully comprehend. These moments forged a deep bond between mother and son, a bond strengthened by shared suffering and silent promises of hope. But hope was fleeting. The illness, like a relentless storm, eventually wore down Bimbo's once vibrant body. One fateful night, as the moon cast a pale glow over the village, Bimbo's strength finally gave out. She passed away, leaving 10-year-old Abioye to face the world alone. Her death was a profound loss, not just for Abioye, but for the entire village. The people mourned the passing of a woman who had been a pillar of strength and grace. At her funeral, the village gathered to honor Bimbo's memory. Abioye stood by her grave, tears streaming down his face as he clutched a small, worn blanket his mother had made for him. For the first time, he felt the full weight of loneliness and loss. The villagers, moved by the sight of the grieving boy, whispered among themselves, wondering what would become of him. In the midst of this sorrow, Bimbo's twin brother, Olamide, stepped forward. Olamide was a man of great strength and even greater compassion. Known throughout the village for his unwavering integrity and boundless generosity, he was deeply respected and loved. Olamide had not yet married, dedicating his life to the well-being of those around him. With a heavy heart, he took Abioye into his home, vowing to raise him as his own. Olamide's home was warm and welcoming, filled with the comforting sense of cooking and the sounds of laughter. He enveloped Abioye in his love, providing the boy with a sense of security he had feared lost forever. As the years passed, Olamide's influence helped Abioye grow into a kind and hard-working young man. Abioye took on his uncle's values, becoming known in the village for his diligence and willingness to help others. Yet, life was not without its trials. Despite the love and care Olamide provided, Abioye often found himself gazing at the horizon, lost in thoughts of his mother and the life they had shared. Determined to honor her memory, he poured his energy into his work and studies, gaining the admiration and respect of the villagers. But destiny had other plans, and Abioye's journey was about to take an unexpected turn. One sunny afternoon, Olamide encountered Amina, the most beautiful woman in the village. With her radiant smile and graceful movements, Amina captured the hearts of all who saw her. Olamide, too, was instantly smitten. Their courtship was swift and passionate, their love story becoming the talk of the village. When they married, the village celebrated with a joy that seemed to echo through the ages. Amina moved into Olamide's home, and Abioye continued to live with them, his life entwined with theirs in ways he could not yet foresee. At first, life seemed idyllic. The house buzzed with the excitement of the newlyweds, and Abioye found solace in the stability they provided. However, as time went on, Olamide's work began to demand more of his time, pulling him away on frequent journeys. Left alone, Amina's initial happiness began to wane. Loneliness settled in her heart like a heavy stone, and with it came a growing restlessness. It was during these lonely days that Amina began to notice Abioye in a different light. He was no longer just a boy who helped around the house. He was a handsome, hard-working young man. Watching him move through his daily tasks, Amina felt a stirring in her heart, emotions she struggled to understand and control. Her feelings grew stronger with each passing day, setting off a tempest within her that would soon engulf them all. As Amina's feelings intensified, she found herself inventing reasons for Abioye to spend more time with her. Abioye, ever respectful and unaware of the brewing storm, complied out of duty and respect for his uncle's wife. The delicate balance of their household began to shift, and the seeds of a tragic fate were sown, waiting to be reaped in the most unexpected of ways. Amina's loneliness deepened her feelings for Abioye. During the periods when Olamide traveled frequently, Abioye spent more time helping Amina. Abioye was always respectful and helpful, unaware of the turmoil within Amina. Though Amina tried to conceal her feelings for Abioye, the influence of her friends and her emotional void caused these feelings to grow. One day, Amina's closest friend Fola visited her and noticed Abioye working around the house. Fola couldn't help but remark on Abioye's handsomeness, saying, "He's the kind of man any woman would dream of." Fola's constant praise for Abioye planted seeds of longing in Amina's heart, and over time, she developed stronger feelings for him. The more Fola spoke of Abioye, the more Amina's emotions spiraled out of control. As Amina's feelings for Abioye grew, she found herself drawn to his presence more and more. She would invent reasons for him to help her around the house, savoring every moment he was near. Abioye, always dutiful and oblivious to Amina's inner conflict, continued to assist her out of respect for his uncle. He couldn't see the storm brewing in Amina's heart. One afternoon, unable to contain her emotions any longer, Amina called Abioye into her room. Abioye hesitated, but eventually entered, driven by his inherent respect for Amina as his uncle's wife. Amina offered him a drink, her hands trembling slightly as she did. Abioye politely declined at first, but seeing Amina's distress, he accepted and took a seat. Amina, emboldened by the proximity and the shared drink, leaned closer, her intentions clear. Abioye, sensing the shift in Amina's behavior, felt a pang of discomfort. He tried to excuse himself, but Amina's hand on his arm stopped him. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of longing and desperation, held him in place. Before Abioye could react, the door burst open, and Olamide stood there, his face contorted with fury at the scene before him. Olamide's rage was immediate and explosive. Without waiting for an explanation, he lunged at Abioye, striking him repeatedly. Abioye, caught off guard, tried to defend himself, but Olamide's anger was overpowering. Amina, panicking and desperate to save herself, screamed that Abioye had attacked her. Olamide, blinded by anger and betrayal, believed her without question. The villagers, hearing the commotion, gathered quickly. Olamide, still seething, dragged Abioye into the village square and publicly accused him of assaulting Amina. The villagers, shocked and horrified, turned on Abioye, beating him mercilessly and humiliating him. Abioye cried out for justice, proclaiming his innocence, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. The village leader, seeing the chaos, decided that Abioye must be punished severely. He ordered that Abioye be given the madness drink, an ancient and feared punishment. The potion, known for inducing a state of madness, was administered to Abioye, and soon he was wandering the village in a delirious state. The villagers, believing him to be mad, shunned him and left him to his fate. However, as days turned into weeks, strange things began to happen. In his madness, Abioye started making eerily accurate predictions about the future. He warned a young girl of an impending danger, saving her life, and predicted the outcome of a village dispute with uncanny precision. Slowly, the villagers began to see Abioye not as a madman, but as someone touched by otherworldly powers. Abioye's reputation as a sage grew, and the villagers, once his tormentors, now sought his guidance. He became a figure of reverence, his words carrying the weight of prophecy. Yet, amidst this newfound respect, Abioye remained haunted by the injustice done to him. Meanwhile, Amina's life took a dark turn. She discovered she was pregnant and began experiencing terrifying nightmares, her guilt manifesting in her dreams. The nightmares grew more intense, driving her to the brink of desperation. In her turmoil, Amina sought out Abioye, hoping for some form of absolution. One night, she approached Abioye in secret, her face pale and eyes hollow from lack of sleep. "What do you see in my future?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Abioye, looking deep into her soul, replied, "The truth will come out, and justice will be served." His words echoed in Amina's mind, a haunting reminder of her sins. Unable to bear the weight of her guilt any longer, Amina decided to confess. Gathering the villagers once more in the square, she stood before them, her body shaking with fear and remorse. With tears streaming down her face, she admitted to falsely accusing Abioye, detailing how her loneliness and desperation had led her to make such a grievous error. The villagers, stunned by her confession, turned to Abioye. The village leader, realizing the grave mistake, ordered that Abioye be given the antidote for the madness drink. Slowly, Abioye regained his sanity, and as he opened his eyes, he saw the remorseful faces of the villagers and the tearful, pleading face of Amina. With deep compassion, Abioye forgave Amina, understanding the pain and confusion that had driven her actions. He requested that she be allowed to stay in the village, a gesture that left the villagers in awe of his capacity for forgiveness. The village leader granted his request, and Amina vowed to spend her life making amends for her wrongs. Abioye's condition and his newfound supernatural abilities spread quickly among the villagers. His prophecies and accurate predictions about future events became a beacon of hope for them. The villagers discovered the wisdom within Abioye and lined up to seek his advice. This situation created deep feelings of guilt and remorse in Amina. Amina could no longer sleep peacefully at night. Every night, she woke up from nightmares, where she saw herself buried in a dark forest. These nightmares became more realistic and terrifying with each passing day. Abioye's prophecies and Amina's growing sense of guilt drove her to an inner reckoning. Realizing she could no longer bear this burden, Amina decided to confess the truth before everyone in the village. One morning, Amina gathered the villagers in the town square. With trembling hands and tearful eyes, she admitted to falsely accusing Abioye. She confessed that Abioye was innocent and expressed deep regret for the suffering she had caused him. Amina explained that her loneliness and desperation had led her to make a terrible mistake that had ruined Abioye's life. The villagers listened in shock as Olamide felt a mixture of deep sorrow and anger at his wife's confession. Following Amina's confession, the village leader decided that Abioye needed to be treated. The village's most skilled healers administered the antidote for the madness drink to Abioye, and soon he regained his sanity. When Abioye opened his eyes, he saw the remorseful faces of the villagers watching him. Amina, in tears, begged for Abioye's forgiveness. With deep compassion, Abioye forgave her and requested that she be allowed to stay in the village. The village leader accepted Abioye's request, and Amina was permitted to remain in the village. This event served as a significant lesson for the villagers. They realized the devastating impact of lies and false accusations on a person's life. Moreover, Abioye's demonstration of compassion and forgiveness became a source of inspiration for everyone in the village. Amina learned valuable lessons from this experience. She dedicated the rest of her life to making amends for her wrongs and living in harmony with the villagers. Amina began helping the village children and contributing to their education. Over time, her guilt was replaced by peace and contentment. The villagers appreciated Amina's efforts and gave her a second chance. Abioye emerged stronger from this challenging experience. He was now recognized as the village sage, respected by everyone. His prophecies and wisdom became legendary tales passed down through generations. Abioye's story spread beyond the village to neighboring communities, inspiring people to embrace the values of honesty, compassion, and forgiveness. Determined to honor his mother's memory, Abioye dedicated his life to guiding the village's youth, teaching them the importance of honesty and justice. Abioye was not only a sage, but also a leader. His story became a valuable lesson for everyone and left a lasting impact on the village's culture. The villagers passed down Abioye's story from generation to generation, learning from the hardships he endured. This story became a part of the village's cultural heritage and a guide for all. Abioye's life was remembered as a symbol of peace, justice, and compassion in the village and beyond.